Hi, my name's Sean Sibbet.
And I'm Marco Pasqua.
Back in 1980, I had the great fortune of my dad deciding that he needed to have his small son have a hobby. I was 10 years old at the time, and he went to an electronics store called Radio Shack and picked up a little box called a home computer. For perspective, I was the only person in my school who had one, so it was a bit of a novelty. He made me an agreement. He said, here's the book with instructions on how to program it, and here's a Space Invaders cartridge. You're allowed to play the cartridge for an hour, but then you have to do the book after that. You can do as much as you want. And he would be there with me. After 3 days, I was bored of the game, and my dad couldn't keep up. So it became my life. As more people started to get their hands on computers, and it became more a part of our society, we had this promise that came out, the promise that technology would free us from the travails of everyday work. So we wouldn't have to work so hard because all this technology would do it for us. We'd have all the access to everything in the world.
That's right.
And now,
like this,
we have these, and we have the access to medical, we can be a doctor right here, self-diagnose, which is pretty common. My doctor said that the other day. He said that when he comes in now, people already know what their problem is before he gets to do anything.
Of course.
So he wonders what his role is. But the thing is, it hasn't freed us. It's tied us to this. We carry this with us everywhere. So I saw us going in the wrong direction. And then a company called Nintendo created a thing called the Wii. And you might remember that had a controller that allowed you to essentially play golf or tennis by including your body in the process. And I thought, wow, that's a fantastic idea. This is this first step of taking us away from having to sit in front of a keyboard and mouse and screen all the time, and take us away from actually enjoying life. Microsoft took it a step further, and they created a thing called the Kinect. And what that did was allow you to use your whole body in front of the device without having any controller at all. So there it was. There was the chance to free us from the binds of the technology. And you know what? They sold more in the first 60 days than any other consumer product in history, including iPhones, iPads, anything like that. They've sold 24 million so far. And they don't really even have a platform for it other than the Xbox. So I thought, this is going to be the future. But it seemed like it was going to be a passing fad. And I remember at Christmas seeing like, okay, the motion control thing isn't happening. We're not seeing software coming, so I don't know where we're going to go with it. Is it going to be like 3D? Gone? And then after Christmas, the Consumer Electronics Show starts in January. And Samsung stated all of our TV shipping this year will have gesture control, motion control in them. So you'll be able to change your channel from sitting in your seat. The device that some of us may be waiting for from Apple is supposed to have the same thing in it. General Motors, who's one of the largest car companies in the world, their flagship car for 2014, the Corvette Stingray that they're redesigning the whole thing, will have gesture control in it as well.
Hold on, I hope it's not for driving, because that just wouldn't work for me, I don't think.
Ford's actually tried that without a steering wheel. They didn't show any video of how successful or not they were.
Right.
So we're assuming it's more for controlling your radio or your map or something like that, hopefully something like that.
All right.
But because I wanted to take this and put it into the PC environment, we had that classic chicken and egg problem that I saw growing up. And it's the same problem. That's why we have Mac and PC these days, and we don't have any of the other rich ecosystem of computers that existed at the time. And that's because when you get a piece of hardware, it's useless until you have software for it. So I said, okay, if people want to get a Kinect and put it in their home and start working with this motion-free world, do they have to buy all this new software and relearn how to do everything? Learning curve is going to be too high. It's never going to get adoption. So I took a different approach. I said, let's make motion control work with all of your existing applications. So we wrote a piece of software that did just that. It allowed you to take those and map anything you do to your body, whether you're using turning your shoulders or speaking or whatever the case may be. It gave you control over your existing applications. Now I'm going to show you a video that gives some examples of it. Started with a simple one, presentations, where you would go like this. And you see up in the corner there, that's my skeleton reaching out towards the triggers and executing them during the presentation. Using Photoshop, for example, allows us to do all this without having to sit and type away. You can lay back on your couch and work on this as well. Because of the full body control, you can navigate virtual environments like you're in them. It's not, I've got 3D glasses and a joystick. It's, I'm moving around in space. And of course, the common one. And you can see me testing it out. Check the weather. Is there a good show on today? I don't know.
That's a good video right there.
I don't know. See if there's anything else on. No. I want to see it. I want to see it. So we created this, and who benefits from it, though? Well, gamers benefit from it because you get that I'm in the game experience where you can be smashing the barrels or shooting the bad guys or whatever the case may be. Businesses can benefit from it. For example, in a restaurant, you could have your menu up on the ceiling, and you could have it so you just wave to change the pages or pick what you like, for example, things like that. But for me, it was still that question. Who's really going to get something for them, some real benefit, some real change, some unthinkable change in how their existence is? And that's when I met Marco.
Yeah, so to give you a back history of my introduction that Roger gave, when I was born, I was 3 months premature, okay? And for me, that actually ended up resulting in some complications. And I ended up being later diagnosed with cerebral palsy, which is brain damage that affects my 2 legs and my right arm, more specifically, my motor skills. So, of course, I did what anyone would do in my situation. I went on to pursue a career in the video game industry. Now, I know that sounds odd, but the idea of video games have always inspired me. They've always wanted me to create something that's out there, that's unthinkable, to create worlds that you embody the characteristics of the characters that you're playing, that you get an extension of your abilities. But you know what? After 4 years of being in the game industry, I really wasn't seeing a great focus on accessibility. So I did some searching. I did a Google search. And I actually did find an organization called the Able Gamers Foundation. Now, they help to over 33 million gamers who use gaming for rehabilitation purposes. Okay? Now, that's to increase their quality of life, but what they also do is game reviews. So, through the magic of Twitter, I ended up finding Sean. And when I saw what his technology was doing with motion and voice control, I actually asked him, have you actually considered for individuals who have motor impairments? Because if you hadn't, the potential is really there.
And it opened it right up for me. It made it so obvious. We had built into our software this key concept of the problem of motion control. And that is, when you first start using it, you're all excited and controlling everything. But of course, after an hour, your hand gets tired, and it becomes like, OK, I just want to get this done with. So we created a system that adapts. So it takes your range of motion for when you're fully energized, and then applies that to when you're tired. So you get the same results. And that applies perfectly to Marco, because we can take the full range of motion in his left hand and apply it off to his right hand to be able to level the playing field between the 2 hands, to give him full mobility.
But you know what, Sean? Vanna White aside, talk is cheap. So why don't we go ahead and show them a video of me and you actually using this together to level the playing field. Take a look.
And here we've picked one of the games that has a lot of key commands in it. And so I'm here. We're teaching Marco how to use it at this point.
There you go. So as you can see, I'm using my dominant hand to navigate myself with my shoulders and pushing my character forward with my hand. And with my non-dominant hand, the hand that's actually affected by my cerebral palsy, I'm doing simple flicking motions to control a longbow. Now, this is not something I could ever dream of doing in real life, but in a video game, as a good-looking lady, I'll take it any day, right? And I'm now being a conductor of my own orchestra of awesomeness.
So I saw him getting really good at this pretty quickly, so I figured, okay, Marco, let's get the two of us together. So we set up two machines side by side and connected over the network and went on an adventure together.
Here we are. I'm actually the one that's rushing in to save him. He's being defeated right now by a bunch of monsters. And of course, I'm going to come in to save the day.
And I remember the first time we did this, and he said, I feel like a superhero.
I really do. All it took was a simple idea and some of these actions, and now he and I are able to level the playing field and increase the quality of life. So really, thank you. So really, what we're trying to illustrate here is that that's what we're doing. We're removing the limitations. We're saying that anything is possible. For an individual like myself, if you have self-esteem issues because you can't necessarily do something in the way that you intend, this actually allows you to have an extension on your own abilities so that you can make that happen. And better than that, it's actually an inexpensive solution in a market that is normally extremely expensive. But the real benefits, where it really shines, is in the therapeutic aspect. I had over 18 years of physiotherapy. Now, if I would have had an application like this, where I was being visually rewarded for all of my great successes, how many times a week do you think I'd be doing physiotherapy? Obviously a lot. I already went 5 times a week. I'd go 10 times. Because the great thing about this is patients and doctors can work with each other remotely, which means it cuts down for me travel time. It means I can literally do my exercises in my PJs in the comfort of my own home, and that data then can be sent to my doctor, to my physiotherapist in real time for them to track my skeletal changes, the changes they want to make with me in my exercises, and so much more.
So Marco showed me the benefit. It made it worth doing. But I still see it this far as an improvement on a system, not an unthinkable change. But that's where it really becomes fun, because in order to make this adaptive system, we have to record everything. So over time, recording one person gives you a baseline profile of their standard range of motion, which you can use then and apply in a qualitative way. So, for example, think a few years ahead when all these sensors are everywhere in your house. You don't have screens and keyboards and mice anymore. The computer is invisible. You've reached this utopia that I've been trying to achieve. You come in and you're slumped. And maybe you had a bad day at work. Maybe you lost your job. Well, the sensors see that. They compare you to your baseline profile, and they say, well, because this person's energy, because their body language is saying that they're not feeling good, I can tell. I can derive qualitative answers. This person's in a bad mood. So let's cook their favorite meal. Would you like that?
I would love that. So Sean, wait, you're saying that with this, you're planning or you're hoping to actually have it make you your favorite meal?
Well, motion control, I don't know. But it's part of the big picture.
Finally, I can cook, right?
Set the lights, set the music, or of course, if you come home and you have a great day, and it can tell you're excited, and it can so tune your experiences based on your emotions, changing your emotions, driving your emotions, or reinforcing, or whatever happens to be your need. Now we take that one more step further and consider that if everybody's using this, we're creating base profiles across the world that we can stick them all together and get a base profile for our average person. This kind of thing has the application. You could walk into a doctor's office. Their motion detection system could look at you and say right away, oh, his arm's a little bit lower on the left side than the average person. So they can use that to help diagnose and treat. So this is where we see the future of motion control.
Yeah, I mean, no longer are we going to have singular devices. We're actually going to be physically in the device. That's not to scare you. That's to say that this is possible. So at the end of this, I guess what we're all trying to say is that we're not just creating a solution for the video game world and for the application world. We're creating a revolution that's going to change everyone's life. Disability, no disability. We really want you guys to think the unthinkable with us, and that's why I guess the only other question that we have to say is, who's ready to join us? Thank you very much.
Thank you.